I don't want to make it sound too simple, but our obligation before God is not socialization. I think there's two aspects to it. Again, I think we win on both sides of this. First of all, we can take their argument to its logical, absurd conclusion, which is if your solution to socialization, as I understand it, is to lock my child in a room with 20 or 25 of his peers and to learn how to get along from other kids his age, if that's the solution to socialization, I don't want any part of it. I don't want my kids learning from a teacher and from peers who believe they came from monkeys. If we teach our children that they came from monkeys, why should we be surprised when they act like it?
Most of it was behavior issues. What I found in our school and in a lot of Christian schools is a lot of times parents send their kids to these schools, some of them for some very good, very motivation, a lot of the same reasons that I homeschooled. Parents will send their kids to Christian schools. But at the same time, there's a large element in the schools that when they're kicked out of the public schools and they've got no place else to go, the parents will send them to private school. And a lot of times we had a large contingent of kids that parents were saying, here's my kids, fix them. If we had a little religion, a little maybe Christian background, a little more discipline, structure, it'll fix them. But that's what God has called parents to do.
There were some other social things that went on in the school that they were exposing my daughter to that you would not want your second grade daughter exposed to. And so, yes, part of my decision was reactionary to that, but also it was just, I think I can do a better job than this.
I missed out of high school were the cliques, the bullying, the waste of time. And so when you ask that socialization, that's what I always come down to. What defines socialization? What is positive? What is negative? Because we get the positive socialization, and we avoid the negative that could have a truly negative impact on our family and could change my child's view of the world forever.
I was speaking to an organization of parents whose kids had been in drug rehab centers, and the issue of socialization came up. And so I started trying to address the issue of socialization, and everybody started laughing. And I stopped and I went, what's wrong? And they said, skip socialization. Socialization is our problem.
I don't know that my family personally could stand much more socialization because we are constantly around other kids. Sometimes we have to run kids off just to get school done.
And I was trying to earn some income that I ended up driving a school bus. On a school bus in general, it's one driver facing forward with a large mirror to where she can when she is not looking at the road, she can glance in the mirror and see what's going on behind her. I would pick up the children at the different stops. I would see families with some values, and I'm talking right now about elementary children being put on the bus with families whose values were very different. And so these children came together on the bus for a short 25-minute bus ride. But in that time, a lot can be conveyed. You know, with the middle school students, there was a lot of language that my children, if they heard in the malls, they didn't have to be stuck with it for very long. But the kids were exposed to a lot more than would be necessary in another environment. A lesson I learned from that is if my children ever are in the public school system, and I would tell my friends who were, I don't recommend them riding on the buses if there's any way you can help that.
Because whenever we started, as I said, there were very few extracurricular activities that included homeschool students. If your child wanted to play sports, they basically had the YMCA option, and that was about it. So, but now, homeschooling has exploded in every state in the nation, and there are so many extracurricular activities.
Well, we do have a problem with socialization with homeschoolers. They're way too social. They're involved in everything.
Every year my family would, I would give every child a budget, a time budget and a money budget. And I would say, this is all the money you get, this is all the time I'm going to spend on doing extracurricular activities, and you just pick what you want to do. So I've had children play soccer, basketball, hockey, rugby, football, baseball, basketball, all all through homeschool sports. I've had them take art lessons, violin, piano, flute, the cello, the oboe. I can't even think of all the instruments that we've invested in our time. They've had outside art lessons. They've had videography. I mean, all of those things are available now, because when the movement explodes, it brings well-educated professional parents with it. They have these skills. So now you have, for instance, I had a poet laureate teach one of our daughters how to write poetry. So because of that, then all of these extra activities are available to our children. So they don't miss anything anymore.
Well, in the first place, they have a more real-world socialization. They have constant interaction with their parents and their parents' friends, other families, their friends' parents and friends. So it is a much more of a real-world setting instead of a peer-oriented setting. And consequently, they learn how to talk to various different age groups, older kids, younger kids, adults, and so forth. They learn to interact, they learn to communicate, and therefore feel comfortable in just about every type of social setting.
And we have many teaching moments where we as parents, as loving parents, are able to watch our children interact in those situations, and we can address it right away. No, son, you need to look that man in the eye when you talk to them. We won't get that feedback. We can't teach that if they're in school all day. Only when we're able to watch them and interact in a social situation can we help them to be more socially adept.
Is that children that by and large have been homeschooled since they were little interact equally well with older people and younger people. They haven't been in an age-segregated society, so if they have a request, they are just as open to make it from an adult as a peer. Not true with people who've been in age segregation. Also, students that have been home educated from birth have a lot less peer dependency. And so, they're not wearing the latest brand of shoes. They really don't care. See, they haven't been addicted to peer dependency. And so they are usually more free and independent thinkers. And that's really what we see across the board.
That's the way they're supposed to be socialized, with families. Because they really need to learn how to socialize in a family a lot more than they need to socialize out there, because they're going to spend most of their lives as a family.
As my children have gone to work for different people, been involved in different relationships, different friendships and all, it has often come back to me on how well they're doing.
One of the first people I found out that was homeschooled and is an employee at Heritage was in communications. So they have to have the ability to deal with people, and often critics of homeschooling, that's one of their greatest charges, is they're not socialized. Well, here you have somebody in one of the most successful, influential think tanks working in the communications department, which I think would kind of be contrary to that notion.
Because what we're doing is we're turning out very well-educated, very articulate students that know what they believe, why they believe it, and they're able to step forward and take because of their socialization, they now can step forward and take positive leadership in their churches, in their community, and even in politics.
I could tell within 20 minutes of talking to these young people that they were homeschooled. And I would say, were you homeschooled by any chance? Why, yes, I was. How did you realize that? Their work ethic, their comfort level, their ability to talk to adults, it just stood out from everyone else. And for me, because that was a separate situation from when I work with children and when I work with parents, to see it completely out there was the proof in the pudding that I needed to say, yes, this is the test. We really are raising a generation of people who have confidence in themselves. They know what they believe. They know why they believe it. They're able to enter the world. They have the knowledge. They have the academics. I believe that this generation of young people will continue to be leaders, entrepreneurs, to change the generation. I believe when we say, for such a time as this, in many ways, we're talking about our generation of homeschoolers.